it's time to talk about Inter Miami. And this is definitely going to be one of the more interesting episodes that I do with the season previews because Inter Miami has been a big talking point throughout this offseason, and I kind of also brag about the fact that they've been kind of in my news of the week almost every single week, and that this offseason they've been known as a team that always tends to link with everybody, and most of the time when they link with everybody, they aren't able to get the deals done. Now, the other thing that I also want to say about Inter Miami is that they do create a little bit of a headache for me in terms of doing the season preview for me, because you know how for the season preview and every episode I have a format where I talk about their last season record and their last season summary. I talk about what's the off-season addition that a club have made, what are the player that is out of the club, and so on like that. Well, for Inter Miami, since not only they are an expansion team, but since they have no history of playing a competitive match, and that on February 29th, or actually on March 1st to be exact, when they play against LAFC, that is their first competitive match in their club history. So I have to be a little bit creative in terms of thinking how to work my way around this. So instead, I will talk about the last 6 expansion team record and how did the last 6 expansion team in MLS did in their first year. First of all, we start with FC Cincinnati, which we all know that they were one of the worst expansion team in MLS history and finished a record of 6-6-32 and finished dead last, not only in the Eastern Conference but in the entire league. Then we got LAFC, who of course finished third in the Western Conference, and they finished a record of 16-9-9. And unlike FC Cincinnati, they were the complete opposite of them, and they actually got the best ever expansion season out of any expansion team in club history. Then we have Atlanta United, who finished 4th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 15-10-9. And before LAFC, they were having the best expansion team or the best expansion season by an expansion team. And then after that, on the same year, Minnesota, of course, come into the league, and they finished 9th in that season with a record of 10-6-18. Then back in 2014, we had 2 other new team that was added into the league with Orlando City and NYCFC. Orlando City barely missed the playoffs and finished the season with 12-14-8, while NYCFC was right behind Orlando City in the Eastern Conference standing with a record of 10-17-7. So, besides LAFC and Atlanta, expansion team in the last six times, or the last 6 expansion team in the last couple of years, have not necessarily done very well in their expansion year. And that's been kind of the big discussion about Inter Miami, of the fact that, are they going to be like LAFC and Atlanta, where they are going to look amazing and set the standard to be one of the best MLS team in the league? Or they're going to be like Minnesota or FC Cincinnati, where they're just going to be happy that they're in MLS and they're going to just kind of take a year to celebrate, and then they'll kind of get serious the fact that, yeah, we need to be a competitive team and we can't just be happy that we're in MLS, even though if we're losing all of these games, and just pretty much gifting free points to everybody in the league. Now, in terms of the roster that they have, and I put present because, I'm pretty sure there's going to be still maybe a couple of signing Inter Miami has done. Obviously, the biggest rumor that they've been linked with is the Pizarro deal, and I didn't put Pizarro on this list because that deal is not officially done, but when it is done, he is going to be on that list, and I believe he's going to be the second DP. It's hard to believe, but Inter Miami only have one DP slot filled as they head into the season, and this is when their president says that they were going to fill up all 3 DP slot before the beginning of the season, and right now they only have 1 filled up. Although it looked like most likely they're going to get that second one done with Rodolfo Pizarro potentially joining Inter Miami in these next couple of days, or maybe in these next couple of weeks, but we shall see how it is. But in terms of goalkeeper, they got Drake Calenta, John McCarthy and Luis Robles. In defense, you got Mikey Ambrose, AJ De La Garza, Nicholas Figo, Grant Liller, Christian McCoon, Dylan Nealis, Alvis Powell, Ben Sweat, Roman Torres, and Denso Ulises. Now in the midfield, they got George Acosta, Luis Argudo, Jay Chapman, Lewis Morgan, Lee Gwynn, David Norman Jr., Mateus Pellegrini, who is the DP and the only DP on this team. Then they got Will Trapp and Victor Ulloa to round up their midfield roster. Now, in the forward position, they had Juan Agudelo, Julian Carenza, Jerome Casavita, and Robbie Robinson in terms of their forward position. Now, in terms of goals scored, I actually put a question mark there because when I look at this Inter Miami roster, I like the fact that they have a mix of veteran player in this team, and there's definitely some guys that you recognize in this team that are veterans player in MLS, and there also are some kind of young guys that is definitely up and coming in the league. But one thing that I do wonder about this team, they don't really have a forward that can really be the goal scorer. And usually when I put the goal scored of each team in the season preview, I usually go with a striker because that's basically what their job is, and that they are usually the main goal scorer of this team. I might say maybe Juan Agudelo could do that, but then again, I also put Juan Agudelo as a surprise package, and I'll probably explain that in just a bit. But besides that, it's still a big question whether or not who is going to be the main goal scored, and that they could maybe this could be a team that could be in a case where maybe their striker ain't going to be their main goal scored. And we've seen before where teams, as much as I know every team wants their striker to be their main goal scorer, it's not always the case, and that there are some teams that rely on their wingers to score those goals. So in this case, I'm guessing maybe Pellegrini could be the guy that could be the goal scorer. I mean, he is a winger for this team, and he is a DP. He's going to be the guy that I think not only they're going to be relying on as a playmaker, but also they hope that he can, of course, score a bunch of goals. Now, speaking of playmaker, as I mentioned, Pellegrini is one of the names that I put, but I also put Lee Gwynn there because, Lee Gwynn, I think he most likely is going to play that number 10 position, and usually when I put playmaker, when I predict who's the main playmaker of the team, I usually put the players that play in the number 10 spot and play in the central attacking mid position. And I think Lee Gwynn, as much as I know he's getting older and his game is kind of slow down a little bit, I still think he is a decent number 10, and he is definitely going to be one of the most important playmaker of this Inter Miami team. I mean, he did very well when he was with LAFC, kind of rediscover his form with New England. I know last season he didn't really quite have a good season, but that's because he wasn't in the starting 11 regularly, and he kind of got phased out. But now he's get to go to Inter Miami and go to another expansion team that will give him a chance to be the playmaker and be the creative player that he was when he was with New England. So yeah, I have a feeling he could be one of the guys that could be the playmaker of this team. Now, in terms of MVP for this team, this is where it gets really tough. And I am actually going to say it's Nicholas Figo, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a couple of people that disagree with me. Obviously, I think if Rodolfo Pizarro is going to be in this team, then I, of course, would have put Pizarro in the MVP slot. But even if Pizarro might not be making this team, I'm still going to have a little bit confused on, well, confused is not the right word, but more like I'm kind of in a bit of a conflict of who I want to select in MVP, because there's definitely some decent player on this team that can definitely be for a shout for an MVP. You got guys like Will Trapp, who could be an MVP of this team because he I'm not quite sure. Well, here's the thing. It's either him that I think he's going to be the captain, and he's going to be really the guy that is going to be the boss of that midfield, and especially in that holding midfield role, or it's going to be Luis Robles who's going to be the captain captain of this team because he was the captain for the Red Bulls, and he is regarded as one of the best goalkeeper in this league, and he could have also be in my list of being an MVP. And you can even argue there are a couple of guys like League Win, Luis Argudo, Ben Sweat, Roman Torres could be argued to be an MVP of this team, but I'm gonna go with Nicolas Figo because I really like the signings that they have. This guy is a decent young Argentine defender that would do good things for this team, and the fact that they were able to get him not on a DP contract but only on a TAM contract is kind of a steal for them. And besides the fact that I'm pretty sure during the opening day they'll probably have Roman Torres and Nicolas Figo as the center back partnership, and that is actually a really good center back partnership. And that Figo, he doesn't need to be great because he's going to have a guy in Roman Torres that is going to be also a boss in that back four. But still, I put him as an MVP because he could definitely be the leader, and he's much younger than Roman Torres. That as much as Roman Torres has always been a boss of the back line, you wonder with him getting older, does that role kind of now goes into Nicolas Figo as being kind of the boss of that back line and being the leader of that back line for Inter Miami. And in terms of surprise package, as I mentioned, Juan Agudelo is going to be the surprise package. And the reason why I say is a surprise package is that I think this could be a team that he could rediscover his form that he has with New England, and that he could be in a situation that is very similar to what Lee Gwynn was when he left New England. Remember when Lee Gwynn left New England, he kind of left New England performing very well, but then he kind of want the club to move him or sell him to another team because he didn't want to be on a competitive team. Juan Agudelo isn't really that kind of player, but he did, during his early part of his career, had a very good couple of seasons with New England, and that a lot of people thought that he could be an upcoming prospect and could be a decent striker for not only New England but for the national team. Obviously, thing hasn't worked out for him, and he's kind of been moving around. And now he gets a chance at Inter Miami and get a chance at an expansion team where he could be just like Lee Gwynn, where as soon as Lee Gwynn went to an expansion team, he rediscovered his form at New England, and that this could be the same case with Juan Agudelo going to an expansion team and rediscover the form that he had in his early careers with the New England Revolution. What I like about this team, and also before I get to what I like, the thing I also want to say about Juan Agudelo is that, like I said, I think he could be one of the main goal scored of this team, and there's no doubt in terms of the strikers that they have, he's the most experienced guy out of all the strikers that they have on this team. So they are really going to be expecting him to be that guy to put the ball into the back of the net if he is going to be the regular starters and the regular striker for this team. Now, what I like about this Inter Miami team is that, as I said, they have some very decent veteran player in their squad, and they kind of have a mix of veteran players in this squad with a couple of up-and-coming players on this rosters. So some of the veteran guys like Luis Robles, AJ De La Garza, Roman Torres, Will Trapp, Victor Yola, and all these guys that are definitely veterans players that's been in the league for a long time and have been proven to be a relatively decent player in MLS. And then you have some kind of upcoming players that could have potential to be a good player in this league. Guys like Mikey Ambrose, Ben Sweat, let's see, who else? Juan Agudelo, although technically I wouldn't count Juan Agudelo as one of them because he's been proven that he has been a decent player. And maybe even George Acosta, another guy that could have the potential to be very decent in this league. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this mix of veteran talent plus some youngster on this team is going to gel with the roster. I think it's good. The fact that teams have like a mixture of young talent and veteran player, because these veteran player not only can teach these young guys to help to get to the next level and get to be decent, but these veterans player can also provide some experience with a team, and especially an experience with an expansion team that, for Inter Miami, obviously they want to build a roster where I know they want to build a roster with some of the well-known name in their squad, but at the same time they also need to build their roster in some guys that I think people have heard of if you follow this league for a very long time, and sometimes that could be very successful when you're an expansion team building a squad with a couple of decent veteran player alongside with some youngster on this team. Now, the big question for this Inter Miami team is no doubt, is there going to be a big signing on this team? And I put example Pizarro with a question mark because again, we don't know exactly when is this deal is going to get done. And from what I heard, it's going to be $18 to $20 million that Inter Miami might have to pay Monterrey to get Rodolfo Pizarro. And if they do get him, do we consider this a big signing? I mean, the price tag obviously says that this is a big signing, but throughout this offseason where they've been linked with pretty much everybody and some of the most well-known names, and not even this offseason, but before they even came into the league, they've been rumored with the like of Messi, Ronaldo, Griezmann, Luis Suarez, Edison Cavani, just some of the most well-known kind of attacker player to come to Inter Miami, and yet they still haven't got any of them. And that's, in some way, I think if it's going to be the case where Inter Miami is going to be coming into the season without that big name player coming into this league, there's definitely going to be a lot of disappointment in the fan base. I mean, I know for the fan base of Inter Miami, they want to not only see their team to be successful, but they also been kind of promised that they're going to get a big name player to come to Miami. And especially Miami has been really a destination where you would think a lot of these big name European star player would eventually come to MLS and just come to Miami to play for David Beckham's team, but that just has not worked out for them. And that right now, when you look at the roster that they have, there's really no name that, like, if you're someone that follow MLS like I do, I definitely recognize a lot of these names. But if you're a Inter Miami fans and you don't even watch MLS very often, yeah, it's kind of like, well, we don't know who these guys is. We heard that they're good veteran present, but I really want to have like a big name player on our squad, so at least I know I can definitely root for them, and I can get very excited about this team. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not if they're going to secure a big signing during this offseason, or maybe they'll wait until the summer. And I'm guessing maybe they'll probably wait till the summer, because the summer is a time when the European transfer window will be reopened again, and that's usually when a lot of these talented guys that Inter Miami has been linking with are going to be out of contract, and they can of course sign them out of contract during the summer transfer window. But we shall see how it's going to be for Inter Miami for the rest of the offseason. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. If you're an Inter Miami fan, what do you think of the current roster that you have? Who do you think is the main goal scorer, playmaker, MVP, and the surprise package of this team? What do you like about this team, and what is the big question besides the fact that you're going to get a big signing? And, well, besides the question of whether you're going to get a big signing this offseason, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.